It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, April 9th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, do not follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have the world media, evangelism word study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is a wonderful and awesome Wednesday. Yes, we're in the middle of the week already. It is the 9th. It is already the 9th. Hope you guys have enjoyed your week thus far. Don't forget, we have Q&A Thursday tomorrow, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And for today's video, please leave a like and comment to build our community. Just very happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Conduct Your Daily Life Well. It is easy if you take action after making yourself the environment and your faith. All right. So yes, it's been a wonderful and awesome week. Tomorrow is going to be the leader seminar, so we are preparing for this. I think I spent a good 2 hours just preparing the snacks for the leaders, like 230 leaders coming together. I really like the format of education and then a time of like discussion together. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. A couple of things that came to my mind. Okay, so remember my Monday podcast? I was talking about like the different traps we put ourselves into, where we put ourselves into a trap where we make it more difficult for us when it comes to the way that we think. And one of the thoughts I was talking to someone about today was feeling the guilt about others. Like, it doesn't even have to do with you. You feel guilty about things that have not, that are not really you can't really control it. And I was talking to a friend about it. We're talking more deeply why Satan would do this. And we're thinking about this, man, when you have some guilt or sin, the guilt or sin, depending on the sin itself, the burden is already on you, right? But imagine if you had to add the burden or the feeling of guilt for someone else, right? And we were just talking man, this is such a smart thing that Satan does, because if you already have enough guilt on yourself, but then you add the burden of someone else's guilt, the weight becomes too heavy. And in this way, Satan gets us because it's already too heavy for us and we just can't get back up. And I think that's the only thing Satan can do right now, is because Satan already knows that God has victory. Satan knows that God has already won this history. And the only thing he can do right now is to make sure that people don't get back up. And there's going to be a lot of weight, a lot of distraction and stuff that you put into your own heart. So, a lot of people, they'll start quitting and they'll start leaving Providence because the guilt or what they're going through is too much for them to handle, that when they're knocked down, they don't get back up. And I think this is something that we do have to recognize for ourselves too, is, when the Bible says if you fall down 7 times, the righteous will get up 7 times. I think the thing that we keep forgetting to tell ourselves is that it means that even the righteous do fall over, right? The righteous do go through those really, really difficult times. It's not something where God is like, no, if you're righteous, you will never fall over. You'll never make big mistakes or whatever like that. But if you look at even the greatest people in the Bible, one of the greatest disciples of Jesus was Apostle Paul. And Apostle Paul, he kind of, he fell over. He was someone who killed Christians. He went far beyond what he should have. And because of that, he had that guilt on him for the rest of his life. But it's also something that you could look at yourself too and say that, look, even the greatest in the Bible had these difficulties and these falling down moments. But, we have to realize, it's quite amazing the way Sansi puts it is like, hey, you've made it this far already. You've been through the most difficult times. You've made it to this point and you've done well. So don't let unnecessary burden come over you, but get rid of it right away. Be quick and be strong about it, right? And that's something that we do. I do think we have to understand very, very well too, right? We have to be those that really get ourselves into that position where we can get back up and not make it hard on ourselves to do so, right? Because even for me, like, I think there's something that I've been worrying about for like the past 2 weeks, and I was really thinking about, like, why the heck am I so worried about this? Like, I realized you won't really one of the things I was trying to figure out is what is the main thing that's making me worry the most, and I would think to myself, like, oh, it's because of this, but I wasn't really sure. But only when it gets resolved do you finally say, oh, it really was this. Like, if I were to simplify it, imagine you have something you go through a difficulty, or like, let's say something easy like a lawsuit. Imagine you're in a lawsuit and you have two things that could be ruined: your reputation, or you can lose money. And you're not sure, and of course you're going to feel really bad about the whole situation, and you don't want to lose reputation, you don't want to lose money, stuff like that too. But when the thing that you're most concerned about gets resolved, this is when your worries goes away. And this is when you're going to know for sure, like, oh, this is what I was really worried about. I was worried about my reputation more than the money, or I'm worried about the money more than reputation. So, when the thing you're most concerned about is resolved, then most of the worries go away. Like, the biggest burden goes away. And once you have the biggest thing taken care of, then all the other worries go back to normal size, and you feel more comfortable, and you can deal with the other issues more comfortably too, right? But it's when you don't handle the big things, those are the things that just I think one of the reasons why it becomes so difficult to handle just life in general with that, because like that big worry is there, and because you have so much stress from that big worry, it affects the other worries you have in your life become that much bigger too, because you're that stressed from it. So it's very difficult to tell the difference between what is like the main thing you're worried about and the things that you're just kind of dealing with, right? So even for me, I realized even today, because today was or yesterday would be Tuesday, sorry, is when I'm like, oh, it was taken care of. And then all the other worries and stuff that I had kind of go down to a normal size, right? So that is something that I was looking at, like, oh, that's quite interesting how I'm able to kind of like analyze, like, oh, this is what I'm worried about more. I'm more worried about someone else than I am about myself in this situation. And because of that, it's causing me to be stressed in other areas like that too. So yeah, that was something I found quite interesting also. Actually, tomorrow is going to start the leader seminar. And I think I'm not actually going to be there in the discussion time because it's for Korean leaders, but I think it's going to be quite interesting to hear the discussions. Like, I would love to hear it, especially about ministry. And one of the big things I think a lot of people are like really, really talking about a lot is what is considered a member, or what's considered a church member, or a regular member, or like an advocate. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that's not really set in stone, and we're not really 100% sure like what that actually means. And there are many things that I think there's going to be a lot of things we're not going to fully grasp until all the discussion is over. But it's good that this discussion is happening in Korea this weekend. Like, I'm very thankful for this. I'm glad it's happening. And because they'll be discussing it first, then it'll be, then they'll be able to come up with questions, ask Sunsteam, and get clarity on this also. So it's really interesting on how we're going to see how evangelism evolves in the future with these two different veins of evangelism, where it's the regular style of going through the Bible study, going through a passing ceremony, all these other different things like this, and becoming like a church member that knows this history, knows who Sunsteam is, right? Or the advocate, the regular member, those that just know what Sunsteam's going through, and they're okay with it, and they're not slandering and stuff like that too. So for me, it's just interesting. It really is. It is interesting, and it's something that I look at like, oh, that is so interesting kind of thing. And like I'm learning how to evangelize in this climate we're in right now is something we just need to adapt to, you know? Excuse me, I just yawned. Yeah, but it's like almost 1 a.m. here right now. But it's interesting. It really is. Like adjusting to this climate, which is very, very different. I don't think it's any different than us adjusting to COVID, right? Like when we went through COVID, we had to adjust. It was all done online and this and that. Like it was just all adjusted. And, trying to adjust and adapt to fit the climate or the environment that we're in right now, I think it's a very, very important thing. It really is. We need to understand what it actually means, and then we can, we can kind of look at all the pros and cons and see all the difficulties that people are going through, because this is going to be another big subject that they're going to discuss is what are the difficulties of Woimendong evangelism? What's the difficulties of internet evangelism? What are the difficulties of regular evangelism? How are they going to overcome this and stuff like that too? So that is something that I look at like, it's going to be very, very important discussion. I can't wait to hear it and just to see what people are thinking too. Actually, we had a very interesting topic today. Like I had a meeting in like IMD stuff like that. We had a very interesting. It was like like for instance, when I go on tour, like say I want to tour to America, there's a certain amount of money that I used, right? And the question came out is the amount of money used on that tour worth how much output or how much result came out of it? And it was a very interesting interesting conversation, because like I was talking to the director too. He's like, oh man, he's thought about this a lot, like trying to figure out, oh, is it really worth that much money or whatnot? But he said that, if you think about it, the one thing that is so hard to measure is spiritual result. Like that's something that's very, very difficult to measure. We can measure how much money, we can measure how much time we spent, we can measure how much time we, the travel time, whatever it is. So those figures are really easy to figure out. But and it would be like, for instance, remember I was telling you guys that I want to go on like some ministry, like I want to just go out and do like ministry, like go to a country 3 months, just hit ministry like crazy. And that's very easy to figure out, because you can just look at how many people you connected, how many people are studying the Bible, how many people that passed, and then the amount of money that's used, right? But when I was thinking about like the tour that I went on when I went to America, I find it a little bit different. Like, because a tour is usually way more spiritual. You don't really get to see the result until later on. For instance, like someone who, listens to the word, or someone who meets like a touring pastor and like coming back to life, or, or someone goes and represents Sunsteam and goes to a very, very small church that most people don't visit. Like that is something I consider very big. It's hard to gauge. It's hard to gauge when there is no way to measure spiritual benefits as an output, right? And I thought it was really, really interesting conversation we had, because sometimes we could get into that. We could get into the trap of saying like, well, what did you do? Well, what came out of it? And did you, did this happen? Did you evangelize, or did you do this? Like when you look at that type of way, you could get yourself into a trap of like, you didn't do enough, or you weren't worth, it wasn't worth for you going there. But later on, I think one of the things that we do have to take into consideration is the spiritual benefit or the spiritual results that are not seen with the naked eye. And that is something I do think we need to think very, very differently about. Because if we don't, then we could be measuring, like we might not be measuring the things that are like measure the spiritual things, which are very, very important that people may not be able to see. So yeah, I found it just very interesting going through that conversation. It was like a very good mental exercise. And just hearing from like, headquarters and stuff, like they're telling us like, yeah, thought about this over and over and over again, but it's really, really difficult to really grasp an output or a result. And I think it's something that we do have to really bring ourselves to understand and, know that not everything is going to be perfectly done. And not everything is going to be done in such a way where you're going to be able to measure everything. Like, how do you measure prayer? How do you measure a lecture? Like, or a sermon? Like, how do you measure it? Because that could, if we're really going by like output, sometimes it's hard to, then you may not even feel that it's good to go to church because you put so much work and effort and money to drive and your gas is expensive and this and that. But in the end, what happens? In the end, it's like, did I get enough what did I gain from the Sunday message? You know what I mean? Like people can start like getting very, very, what's the word? They get very like strict or petty about certain things too, when we don't realize how big the spiritual things truly are. So I thought that was an interesting conversation. I'm not sure what you guys think about that, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this also. But I just found that to be a very interesting question. All right, either way. So yeah, that's kind of some of the things that I was thinking about, and it is pretty late at night right now, but very, very thankful that I can go over this. I just recorded the what do you call it? I just recorded my Rebel Pastor video too that comes out today. I believe it's going to come out at like 10 a.m. Korea time, which is going to be 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Western. So yeah, that's going to be part 2 of why doesn't God do more? Right? And it's all coming from last week's Sunday message, and which I thought was a very powerful message too. But either way, before we get into it, let's before we get into today's evangelism word study, let's move into the first music break of the day.
Feel this. 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this way? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this way? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this way? Ooh, it's 1978. Oh, this feeling will never get old like the first time we've been together. As long as you don't lose this love, that love will last forever. And as much as I know you're the best thing in my life, I will always tell you that I love you every time. It's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this way? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so say that it's too hard. No matter how blazing your love may be, our meetings and conversations are the same, you see. You can't let this love go to waste. Doing the same things day to day, we're at the same place. Let's speak with hope about new things and the things you have done. I want to get closer to you, I want to give you my love. If you do not enjoy this love, it will disappear. When your thoughts are hard changes, he will take away your blessing. Gotta find your form, find your mission, and just find your blessings. Let's just get back to the old days and find out the temptations. I wanna get to know you, I want to show you that I can give you the word in many places, many spaces. I have seen a lot of people come and go. You're gonna make it, do your absolute best to reach the final destination. Yeah, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Ooh, it's 1978. This feeling is so great. The word you preach amazes me. But why do I feel this fate? Oh, can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you. Can I get to know you? I just wanna know you.
All right, so let's get into today's evangelism word study. And, evangelism is the hot topic of the year. Lots of things to talk about when it comes to evangelism. And I'm hoping that that we'll really, really be able to get our hearts and our minds thinking about evangelism. But here's one thing that I was thinking about, especially when it comes to foreign countries, like if you take away the big three, like Japan, Taiwan, and Korea, if you look at the rest of the countries, I was really thinking deeply about this, of how likely it is for everyone to follow the direction of evangelism the same as the bigger countries. And I thought it would actually be more difficult, that smaller countries probably couldn't follow it the same way. I'll give you an example. The two veins of evangelism, one is going through the regular membership, and the other one is church membership, right? Church membership is realizing this history, going through the Bible studies and stuff like that too, which is probably going to be the thing that most people in the smaller countries are going to be focusing on anyways. And the bigger problem that we see with the smaller countries is the countries, they just don't have enough manpower to be working on two different types of evangelism. I don't see it as a big possibility. Can you actually go out and manage people who are regular people studying the words and stuff like that, and then also have these members that are signing up and becoming members, just regular members, not actual people who are studying the Bible. When I was looking at that, I was like, oh, that seems really hard, actually, to put that much work on both sides. And I think it's something that we do have to think about very carefully, is do we really, is your country big enough to focus on those two things? And I would say in most cases, no. I don't think so. I don't think most people, most countries, and most churches that have a limited amount of manpower, they're not going to be able to do both sides. Even when I look at internet ministry, I think internet ministry is huge. I really do. I think it's going to be something that's going to be the main source of membership and evangelism in the future, right? Maybe not now, but in the future, for sure. But the thing that is very interesting for me is but the amount of people that can actually focus on internet evangelism is going to be very small. You just can't. Internet evangelism is not easy. The amount of effort and the amount of energy you have to put into it, even for me, I'm doing IMD plus doing internet ministry. I have to, cut and edit and post. And think about this. I have 5 videos that I'm doing. Like I'm doing the MSD, right? So I'm doing this one, which is 5 times a week. So there's 5 videos I upload here that I have to, record and do all these other different things. And then in the other channel, I have one main podcast that comes out every single Tuesday in the Western countries. And then on top of that, I have 5 shorts and another video that comes out. So I have another 7 videos coming out in the other channel, which means I have 12 videos a week that are popping out. 12. If you think about that, that's a lot of videos to take out. 12 videos for these 2 channels. So even when I'm thinking about this, it's like, oh, this is so interesting how the only reason I was able to start it because I had zero mission. I was only doing internet ministry and nothing else. So when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, that's something I think that it's going to be very, very difficult for smaller countries, that every country when it comes to evangelism is going to have to do the evangelism according to the level and size and maturity of your country. And that also has to do with manpower. Because if you don't have the manpower, it's not going to make a difference how much you want to do evangelism. Which kind of leads me to like, what kind of evangelism are we really, really expected to do in the smaller countries? And everything's going to be dependent on everyone in that church discussing and going through it. Like that's going to be the big thing. And one of the big when I was in America for 5 weeks doing that tour, one of the things I thought was very, very poignant, like one of the letters that Sunstein pointed out was, 100 is when things get started. Like when you have 100 people in your church, that's when things get started. But 1,000 is when a movement begins. Think about that, guys. Which means that's why, there's no other countries besides the big 3 that are really moving, because they all have over 1,000. So think about that. Because they all have over 1,000, this is why they're able to grow and amass so much from what they're doing. And if you think about your country right now, how many do you have? Which means you have to first reach 100, right? And reach 100 first, right? That's when things start to move. But it's 1,000 when a movement begins. So, we really, like, I look at Malaysia. Malaysia's like 750, somewhere around there. They're getting close to the 1,000. You have America is at 500 something. So they're getting, they're halfway there. But it's such a big thing that, reaching that 1,000 point is actually the beginning of a movement. And I think that is something very important for us to think about. And we have to plan really well in order for true evangelism to happen. How are we going to evangelize? How are we going to make it better? Well, the way that we do it right now, or the way that you're doing it in your churches, there's going to be a limitation to it. And we have to deal with it or find a new way to do it that's going to be even better. So I hope it's something that all of us can really start to really focus on more, because if we're going to hit that million man, like for 1 million people, things got to change. It's got to be differently. And this is why I'm grateful and thankful for the big event that's happening here in Korea. Right? I'm super thankful for this, because this is one of the biggest this is the first Korean workshop for leadership and discussion time. So I am really looking forward to hear what ideas people actually came up with, and I think that's going to be a very, very good thing. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to go out and start to do ministry myself also, maybe even in Korea. I think it should be okay too. Well, I'm hoping so. Either way. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of thoughts that I've been thinking about when it comes to evangelism. I really think it's a good topic for us to discuss also. So I would really like to hear what your thoughts are on evangelism too. Right? I don't want, it's not about like, oh, evangelism doesn't work or evangelism this. No, like, what are your thoughts? Like, what can we do? What's something that we can do that's better? What's something that we need, right? And it's going to be interesting because every church is different, every size is different, and because of that, we're going to have different things that each church needs and different things that each of us that kind of are looking towards. But it'll just be interesting to see where that discussion actually leads. either way. All right. So there it is, guys. A little bit short, but that is the evangelism word study. Hope you guys really kind of open your eyes or give you some more thoughts on these types of things too. If you have any more questions or any things you want to add, leave it in the comments below. All right. So before we get into the news around the world media, let's move into the last music break of the day.
When you lift me up from falling, I feel your warm embrace, breathing life into my withering spirit, pouring out your love and grace. So I think to myself, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. You pulled me out of darkness so many thousands of times. You gave me strength and courage, everything that I need in life. Look at all the countless blessings, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. Even if the world forsakes you and they misunderstand what it means to be in providence, holding God's truth in our hands, we fulfill the greatest history, God's will and highest love. All the wondrous miracles you've shown, only here in Providence. Providence, push forward, we'll run till the end. With our solid faith, we'll repay you with all our heart, will and life. And now the seals are broken, the treasures now revealed. You've shared his highest wisdom, valued secrets of how to live. Looking back at all the memories, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. Even if the world forsakes you and they misunderstand, what a blessing it is that you're here, acting with God hand in hand. We've received the greatest rapture, we've gained eternal joy. This is God's final history, never will it be destroyed. Providence will shine our brightest light for your dreams. Your word fills the earth. Yeah, we'll preach, gain all that you want to achieve. Even if the world forsakes you and they don't understand, we're more than proud to be here, holding God's truth in our hands. We fulfill the greatest history, God's will and highest love. Your words, your precious providence, we'll cherish it till the end. Providence, we'll stand till the end. Providence, we'll live with our God. Providence, love God with our heart, will and life.
Okay, so let's get into today's final segment, which is the world news, like media around the world. I'm not even sure what to call it yet, but there's going to be three main things I'm going to talk about. And two of them are very, very similar and very, very interesting just to see that this is happening in a very similar way to both Canada and South Korea. And basically it's because there's going to be elections coming very, very soon. So Canada's general election campaign is underway. It's going to be like a 36-day sprint taking place in like very unprecedented circumstances. So voters are going to consider which party should govern the country, just as the U.S. It's very, very similar to it. And there's going to be tons of stuff that they're going to be fighting over, like domestic issues and, working with Trump and stuff like that too. But the election is going to be on April 28th, which means it's going to be in roughly 3 weeks. So it's very, very close, and it's kind of one of those snap elections where the other prime minister stepped down, a new prime minister came up, and he called the snap election, and this is why this election is going to start. Right? So Canada already. So very, very big news that Canada is going to have their election. But who else? South Korea, because their president just got impeached. They're going to be having their presidential election on June 3rd. Right? So June 3rd. And the acting leader said that after they impeached and removed the current sitting president, and this, remember, for those who don't remember, there was that shock martial law declaration, and the court basically upheld his impeachment on April 4th, paving the way for a snap election within 60 days. So acting president announced the election date on Tuesday, saying the country needs to quickly heal from the wounds and go upward and forward. Because, we all saw what happened. The martial law declaration plunged South Korea deep into political uncertainty and highlighted deep divisions in society, right? So now that he's impeached, it's going to be another big thing happening in Korea where elections are going to be starting. And it's kind of crazy. That's going to be in the next 2 months. We're going to have 2 elections for Canada and for South Korea. So that is something where you kind of look at the world news and see, as Sunseem said, look at the world news to see what is going on. Last but not least, we're going to go into America, and it looks like there's these weekend storms that are happening in the U.S., and the death tolls are rising. So already 22 people have died from flash flooding and tornado damage that swept across multiple states in the Midwestern and southern parts of the U.S. over the weekend. Nearly half of the reported deaths, which included children and elderly people, were in Tennessee, and 3 were in Missouri. 3 people died in Kentucky, while Indiana, Mississippi, also Georgia and Arkansas have also reported deaths from the storms. So the fierce weather has caused rivers to swell, and the National Weather Service warned that dozens of locations would reach major flood stages even as the rain slows down, and as many as 9 million Americans were under a flood watch on Monday, right? So already 22 people have died in these storms, tornadoes, and flood warnings. And if you look on the internet, there's some crazy pictures out there that show what's actually happening too. But either way, so that's kind of the news that we're going through right now. 2 elections that should never happen, but there's an impeachment, and one of the prime minister stepped down in Canada. And then on top of that, we see that there's this crazy weather, and more people are suffering and dying. So this is something that's very, very important to us, because as he said, to look at the news to see what God is doing and to see what's happening. And it's very, very important for us to really understand this too. All right. Either way, that's it, guys. That is the end of today's podcast. We do have an amazing Wednesday service tonight. Everyone, please enjoy. Have an amazing and awesome day. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Don't forget, Q&A Thursday, so send those questions. We'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Call me when